Sometimes, if you want something truly different, you just need to pay for it. And that's the case here, but it might just be worth the money. The full tour of the Viceroy Los Cabos is coming up. As we get settled in, if you're new to the channel, welcome. My name is Kevin and I am the Flip-Flop Traveler. I'm a full-time creator with an eye to the skies and the beaches, and I enjoy my flip-flops nearly as much as I enjoy being honest and unclickbaity in my self-funded videos. If you'd like to know more about the channel or me, scan the QR code or click the link in the description. Have a look around the channel. There are hundreds of airline and hotel reviews to enjoy. This ultra-cool waterfest begins now. Do you remember in my Zoetry Casa del Mar video where I mentioned that the entrance is so important to me and how sometimes it just doesn't match the scale of the resort? Yeah, I was actually talking about here. When building this resort, they surely wanted to take up every bit of land available, and so the resort entrance is squeezed into a small space next to the road. I should also note that when you arrive, surely you'll be driven to the entrance. But if you book a car that is not from the hotel to pick you up, they are adamant about not letting them up the driveway. Just a bit much. Anyway, there's no reason for that to ruin things. When I say the entrance doesn't quite match, it's simply because of the lobby area. It's very small, and while the view is beautiful, there's just nothing special or breathtaking about the space itself, which at a resort so focused on design like this one, seems out of place to me. From the reception area, we can head straight down to the main attraction, which is definitely the sea of water, if you will. When I'm picking hotels for the channel, I generally look for some kind of well-rounded package. But this is one of the few hotels that I've ever visited for the channel, which I truly chose just because of the design. It was just so different. I had to visit. As we take a look around, I'd point out that technically, all of this space is available to take a dip in, though I only saw one person actually do it. When covering this hotel, Forbes said, quote, "This hotel looks like it was designed specifically to host a white party," unquote, and I would have to agree. Designed by Miguel Ángel Aragonés, the resort opened in 2016 and came under Viceroy's management in 2018. In total, there are 198 rooms and villas, the majority of which are housed in these 7 buildings surrounding the water feature, meant to look as if they're floating. Gotta say, pretty effective. While the layout of the resort is actually very simple to understand, the way that you travel through it is not. So let's take a look at where we are and I'll explain. Surprise, surprise, we are in Los Cabos, the resort mecca on the southern tip of Baja California. Los Cabos refers to Cabo San Lucas, the more party-oriented area, and San Jose del Cabo, where we are now, which is more family-friendly and has loads of charm and restaurants in town. The Viceroy is on the primary strip in town, just 2 properties away from the Hyatt Ziva, and is along the same massive beach. Let's take a look at how to navigate the property. There's one central and winding artery, which you need to use to access just about all of it. From the main building, you can emerge as we did and walk towards the ocean, around the pool and past the hot tub, and go underground here. You'll pop out again among the first row of the villas, continuing to another loop, passing the Harley Pasternak Design Fitness Center before winding up at sea level, and then it's a straight shot out to the beach. Well, through a restaurant and out to the beach. This resort has 3 personalities, and they are all related to sunlight. In the morning, such as now, before the sun comes up over the buildings, you get a gorgeous glow on half of the rooms, with the rest left in the shadows. By 11 a.m., the entire area is bathed in sunlight, and the color of the water changes entirely. The third we'll see after dark. Viceroy has 10 resorts and hotels, and they are not all ultra-modern like this one. Some are actually quite classic. For quite a while, I've had 2 of them on my radar. This one and the Viceroy Bali. Come to find out, only when researching for this script, that the Viceroy Bali is in no way associated with them. Very strange. I'll let you have a look around as we continue down towards the beach. If you're enjoying the video and want to see more, please go ahead and click that like button, and more importantly, subscribe. If you're looking for lots more information about my travel in general, weekly posts, advanced itineraries, travel advice and the like, or just want to show your support for the channel, I'd invite you to check out my Patreon or YouTube channel memberships. On the way, you'll pass through the beachside satellite of the El Nido restaurant, and then you can take a good look at all of the villas. I know this will sound silly since the entire property is a pool, but the actual pools do feel a bit small for the number of rooms. If you're planning a trip to Mexico, be sure to check out my Mexico playlist, which by the end of this year will have nearly 20 videos from Cancun, Playa del Carmen, here in Cabo, and Puerto Vallarta. As with just about all beaches in Cabo, it is a stunner, though it is not safe to swim due to riptides, a fact of life at nearly all beaches in Cabo. Heading back towards the buildings, there is one other rooftop pool to check out. If you look on Google Earth, you'll see that there are 2 more pools on 2 other buildings on the other side, but they're either part of a suite or limited access in some way. I do think the best view of the resort is from up here though. And there's Hyatt Ziva. Okay, let's go take a look at my room. I have 1.5 room tours for you. The first is a standard Ocean View King. The interiors throughout the property are meant to instill a Miami luxury condo vibe, and they're quite effective with this, but the layout and the size of these rooms I am not a fan of. I fully understand that the outdoor space is prioritized and therefore the indoor space is smaller, but I think the balance is off, and the bathroom is really one of the more cramped ones that I've seen in quite a while. If they did something like a Celebrity Edge infinity balcony, maybe then it would just open up the space for more practical use. As we take a look around, I'll put up the extra bits. This is not an all-inclusive resort by default, and so the minibar items besides the water and coffee are all chargeable. The bathroom is open plan with a small vanity and closet on the left and shower and toilet on the right. One of the reasons why the price of this resort, which especially for not all-inclusive is definitely near my limit, was a bit easier to digest is because every single room has an ocean view. Whether you like the style or not, I think most would agree that seeing a garden view room at this resort going for $450 or so per night wouldn't be out of place. But since there are none of those, the cheapest rooms are quite expensive. The other reason was, when booking, I took a look at their restaurant menus and they were actually surprisingly reasonable. Now, about this room, I was there for around 2 hours. The room was boiling when I arrived, and the AC could not cool it down, blowing a warm spring breeze rather than a fast cooling chiller. I messaged my butler on WhatsApp, as you do here. I have a few words about the butlers here, but that's for later, and eventually got an engineer to come to the room. They came, did a few things, and left without saying a word 10 minutes later. An hour after that, it was still the same. I messaged the butler again, and he said the engineer said it was fixed and it was blowing 12 degrees. I replied to him with a photo of my laser temperature thing showing that this was far from the truth. He said a manager would contact me. One did call me soon, offering to change my room. Great. 5 or 10 minutes later, the manager came to my room to escort me to my new room, which they upgraded to a suite. As we take a look around the admittedly gorgeous suite, I'll talk about the butlers and the service in general. When I was checking in, I was introduced to my butler, and from the moment that we shook hands, it was go, 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 go. He was going through things so quickly that I just kept saying, "You'll send it to me later, you'll send it to me later, you'll send it to me later." After he dropped me off at that first room, I asked for him to send me the menus, and he sent me like 10 different files on WhatsApp. I'm sorry, did I say 10? I meant 13. Conveniently, none of those were the menus that I asked for. I asked again and then got the 4 menus. Slight problem. Remember how reasonable the food prices I spoke about were? Yeah, nowhere to be found on these menus. I pulled up the menus on their website, and the ones that he sent me were a solid 30 to 40% higher in price. I asked about this, and he brushed it off and clarified that the menus on the website were the correct ones. Okay, well, where'd you get these from? And that was the entirety of my contact with the butler. Once I sent the thermometer pic, he was finito with me. Besides him, the service was actually very good. Check-in agents and staff throughout the resort were gracious and friendly, and the manager who changed my room also ensured that I'd have the best table for dinner, and the restaurant manager brought over a glass of wine on the house. Speaking of dinner, let's check out the options for food. Note that all prices on these menus are in USD. For some reason, all prices at the resort are like this. Generally, not a good sign. Just underneath the lobby is the very comfortable and breezy Casero, open throughout the day, including an a la carte breakfast service. The star of the design show is the egg-like bird's nest in the middle of the pools named El Nido, a Japanese and Mexican fusion but mostly Japanese restaurant. There's also its little baby restaurant near the beach, which we walked through before, open for lunch. Aguacate I had for breakfast, and I'll show you then, and that leaves us with Cielomar, which along with its bar and lounge takes up the entirety of the main building's rooftop. Service, as I said, was fantastic, with the restaurant manager handing me off to a very personable server who knew how to give good high-touch service without hovering. I started out with the fig salad with comté cheese, pistachio, plum, arugula, and red wine vinaigrette. I think I was expecting a little bit more punch, but it was still really delicious and balanced, a 9 out of 10. If you're Italian, please look away now. For the main, I could not resist the al pastor pizza. With adobo marinated pork, pineapple relish, cilantro, and Oaxaca cheese. This was a bit stingy on the pork, but the flavor was like weak in the knees good. 9.4 out of 10. Cielomar had live music throughout dinner, but besides that, this is not an entertainment-focused resort. So after dinner, I just took a walk around the resort, which is quite a sight to see. My room is on the 3rd floor in the center of this building. Time for another incredible sunrise. Cabo has these sunrises down pat. For breakfast, I chose aguacate. My rate didn't include breakfast, so I had a choice between here or casero. This was a really cool little restaurant. It leans heavily into their design concept without feeling like a Tulum boho chic Instagram ad, which I appreciated. There was a full buffet on offer, along with an egg station, which made some pretty fat omelets. The buffet wasn't the most extensive on earth, but I think it's a good mix of Mexican and non-Mexican food. Overall, this breakfast is ranking smack in the middle. As we take a look around the Harley Pasternak Design Fitness Center, he's a fancy celebrity trainer if you didn't know, which you'll hear around 8 times while you're here. Let's go over my final thoughts. One reason why I don't like to publish videos about hotels right away is because I like my thoughts about them to marinate. If you asked me the day after I checked out, I'd probably tell you this place was overpriced, full stop. But if you ask me today, I'd say overpriced, comma. Sometimes you need to pay a bit more than you expect to stay at a resort like you've never seen before, and I think I've grown into that thought for this one. The other thing is, while this place is certainly children-friendly, I think it's clear that it doesn't cater to them. But it's also not a lovey-dovey romantic honeymoon kind of place, which I think makes this a really interesting choice for friends who travel together. So the design looks as good as it looks in photos. The service generally is very good. The food ranged from average to above average, and the beach, as long as you don't mind not swimming, is a stunner. If it was like $150 less, or was all-inclusive for this price, I think they'd be talking my language a bit more fluently. If it's within your budget, give it a try. It is truly a what you see is what you get in the best of way kind of resort. So I really do hope that you enjoyed this final stop in Cabo. If you did, please be sure to click that like button and subscribe with notifications on so you don't miss out on my twice weekly videos. Oh, and by the way, I do have 3 Puerto Vallarta videos coming out in April as well. I'll see you next time from Dublin. As always, thanks for watching till the end.